Hey, it's Professor Snart. Just a really quick video here, a quick look at our units coming up to spring break. Just taking a little look-see here. So we want to talk about units 5 and 6. We're kind of finishing up, working through, or working towards, and then 7. And again, spring break kind of falls right in this area here. Have an updated due dates list just to reflect that. It'll look correct when you're probably looking at it in Blackboard. So again, I'm just going to jump ahead into Unit 7, which I looked a little bit at in our earlier announcement. Unit 6, which I looked at a little bit in our earlier announcement, but let's take a little more time here. Actually, I'll try to keep it quick since I hope it's fairly straightforward. But it is our midterm point in the course, so it's a good opportunity, obviously, to reflect on what we've been doing, sort of take stock, and we do a midterm, although it's hardly like a test or a quiz. So just a really quick look then into Unit 6. Okay, so again, I touched on this in my earlier announcement, but a little less frantic pace here. So we want to build out our portfolio, or really get it up to speed and then kind of reflect on what it looks like. So it's a two-part endeavor here. And again, depending on how actively you've been using the portfolio, whether I've prompted it or not up to this point, step 1 might be kind of almost done, honestly, for you. But if not, if you haven't really been attending to the portfolio, that's sort of okay, because we now have the chance to do it here. So like I say, you want to go back through pretty much every unit that we've done and build out the portfolio in a way that makes sense to you organizationally. It could be by unit, by activity, by I don't even know what. You can get creative with it as long as it makes sense, or you can explain the sense that it makes, especially for the midterm part here. But the organization is really less important, I would say, than the completeness of it. So we want to account for every unit, even though some of the units, right, we won't actually do anything with. So Unit 1, clearly we just built the portfolio, so right, we don't really have to have a Unit 1 designation. Unit 2, right, we had our slide deck and also the Padlet. So again, we don't need to redo that work necessarily. It might, in some cases, be just a matter of cutting and pasting as far as what definitions did you do in our shared slide deck, what pictures did you post on the Padlet. Again, maybe you've already built this out, or it's just a matter of kind of grabbing those pictures again, going back into Blackboard, and really just assembling or archiving the various things that we've done in Blackboard that aren't already in your portfolio. Again, building out pages is just a matter of getting into your portfolio space on the editing screen. Instead of the default Insert tab, you want to go to the Pages there. You'll see any other pages that you've built on the list. You can notice you can shuffle those and create sub-pages, so you can get sort of as fancy as you want with that. Look all the way down on the screen in the editor there. You'll see the little plus icon. That's to add a new page. Again, this is probably old news for folks who've been adding pages all along. And then we're just keeping going through the units up to this point to figure out what we haven't included and, for the most part, what we can include. And I think most of the things that we can archive either directly by loading them in or just a little manipulation to cut and paste, even if you're just taking screenshots, as long as we can see the artifact, the thing that you did for that unit, that's really the most important. So again, step 1 is just kind of getting the portfolio into shape. Maybe you're organizing a little better, labeling things, whatever you need to do. But you don't need to redo or even edit necessarily any of the work. You're just assembling it for this step 1 procedure. Okay, let's see. Step number 2, right, is really the midterm part. So step 1 is kind of prep for that. So the midterm, you're going to build out a new page, and we're going to call it midterm review, or I like the reflection term better. As long as it's designated, and it's sort of like easy to find for me and for others. So you're going to pick 3 of our course objectives. And like I've said before, these objectives, although we call them course objectives, they're not specific to our particular section of the course. So these aren't ones that I've just invented for us to cover. Any 1152 that you would take face-to-face, online, whatever length term, they're all going to aim to cover all of these things, or have you emerge at the end being able to do the following things. So it's really useful, and I think you'll find that we've actually been doing this over and over again, like certainly in different ways and hopefully in some fun and creative ways. But we've touched on these in pretty much almost everything we've done, honestly. But now it's time for you to really think about your thinking or think about your learning, which I think is one of the most important and valuable activities we can undertake as students, as professionals, right? To really think about intentionally what we're doing. So you're going to choose 3 of the objectives listed here, and then you're going to find at least 2 examples from the various projects that you've done in our previous units up to this point, and just build that link. So I almost literally mean if you've organized your portfolio, let's say by simply by unit, which kind of makes chronological sense, actually build in links back to your own pages. So you could organize your midterm by kind of bullet point objective that you want to cover, and then you're going to build out an explanation. This is sort of the creation or writing part for the reflection. You're going to explain for each of those bullet points what you did in our course that shows evidence of you, again, right, completing or doing the following objective, demonstrating the following, whatever the objective happens to be. So here's where, instead of just compiling stuff, you're actually going to have to make it really explicit that my work in Unit 2 when I did, et cetera, and then we can either link back to that, or you're providing that evidence again, however you want to do it. And then again, describing in detail kind of what that connection is. So make sure that you're doing the publish, right? The editing screen automatically saves everything that you do as far as an edit, but it only pushes it out to the public so that if you post that URL, I'll be able to see it and anyone else will be able to see it once you hit that publish button. Okay, so use the discussion board here, right up at the top, right, where it says whatever Unit 6 returning to our portfolios. Once you're all done, get in there and repost your main portfolio URL. And again, this is just a convenient collection place so that I can grade them easily. Notice too that even if you post your main URL page, you don't have to post right to your midterm reflection. I'd actually prefer if you just posted the main portfolio URL so that I can see how you've arranged the whole thing. And that's why we want to name that page the midterm reflection or review or midterm something or other, so I can see exactly like where that particular piece of work is. Just off the bottom of the screen here, there is a group project coming up, so you can pop into a future unit or their next unit just to see kind of what your group is, what the assignment is. I feel like that's really valuable because group projects are not something that often occur in online classes, even though I think they should. It's a valuable skill to learn. And I think the most important part is that just we establish a connection within those groups so that whatever group members decide how they're going to communicate with each other. Since we're not seeing each other face to face on a regular basis in class, we need to make sure that we account for just that really practical matter of like, how are we going to talk to each other? So I'm encouraging people to jump ahead in the units, not even to do anything necessarily, but just to see how it's mapped out, and again, see who you're grouped with and what the assignment is going to be. Okay, so back to our units list here. This kind of carries us through then our 4, 5, and then 6 portfolio, the midterm. There's a little midterm review, or survey, I should say, just, again, ungraded, anonymous, just to take your temperature, see how things are going in the class so far, hopefully good. We have a little nice break here for spring break, whether you're traveling or staycationing or whatever happens to be going on. Hopefully you have a good time. And then we will pick up with our group project and then move through a couple more units, and before you know it, we'll be right down at our Unit 12, which is our final reflection. You can't quite see it, it's just off the screen, but that's the opportunity, very much like the midterm, where we take, again, that holistic view of really the whole course and all of our objectives, and we reflect on like how we've, the work that we've done in the course that demonstrate those objectives. Okay, so once again, hopefully things are going well. You're into the rhythm of the class by this point. You feel like you're learning stuff, doing some kind of fun and creative things, getting really connected with your classmates a little bit, hopefully more than maybe you thought might be the case in an online setting, especially Unit 5 where we're doing the video essay thing, even if we're not seeing somebody, but if we're just hearing that voice talk to us about an idea, connecting a piece of poetry and music, as you watch those or listen to those, you really see the difference that human presence makes versus just another piece of text that we read that has a name attached to it. Okay, questions, concerns, comments, you can always be in touch with me by email, and I will talk with everybody soon.